Nick Ball is not your typical boxing prospect. In fact, calling him a prospect might be an insult at this point. He's not just coming up, he's breaking through walls and tearing down everything in front of him. At 5'2", most would assume he'd be fighting to overcome physical disadvantages. But instead, he's become the nightmare that taller, leaner fighters dread, the wrecking ball from Merseyside who punches well above his weight and fights like a man possessed. In a sport where reach and height are often considered paramount, Ball turns those assumptions upside down with every step he takes into the ring. Born on February 28, 1997, in Liverpool, England, Nick Ball's journey into combat sports didn't begin in a traditional boxing gym. He started with Thai boxing, a discipline that, while vastly different from Western boxing, instilled in him the core traits that now define his approach: aggression, grit, and a complete disregard for an opponent's comfort. But it wasn't until he discovered the electrifying style of Mike Tyson that Ball realized where his heart truly belonged. Inspired by Tyson's ferocity, compact power, and take-no-prisoners attitude, Nick transitioned to boxing, adopting a style that mirrored his idol's intensity but carried his own unique stamp. From the moment he turned professional, Ball stood out. He didn't just win, he overwhelmed. In only his second professional fight, he delivered a beatdown so comprehensive it became clear this wasn't a typical rise through the ranks. This was a man building his legend brick by brick, one shattered opponent at a time. Opponents often towered over him, thinking their reach and stature would be enough to keep him at bay. But they quickly discovered that Ball wasn't just coming to fight, he was coming to maul. His long arms, deceptively powerful, fired through the tightest defensive guards, and once he got inside, it was like letting a pit bull off its leash. There's a quality to Ball's fighting style that's rare today. It's raw, but calculated. Wild, yet disciplined. His footwork doesn't just carry him into range, it shoves him there with brutal intent. His bobbing, weaving, low stance makes him an elusive target, but it also springs him into attack with vicious leverage. Every punch carries the kind of snap that sends ripples through a fighter's core, and every combination is delivered with the intent of destruction. His finishes aren't accidental, they are orchestrated explosions, each punch placed with predatory precision. The young Liverpudlian quickly built a reputation as a hometown terror, defending his turf like a lion. Fighting in front of his local crowd only seemed to fuel the fire in his chest. He wasn't just fighting for belts, he was fighting for pride, for identity, for legacy. That energy became electric in his bouts. When Nick Ball stepped through the ropes in Liverpool, it was less a sporting event and more a street-level resurrection of the gladiator spirit. His rise wasn't just built on raw emotion, though. Ball proved time and again that he possessed tactical versatility. Whether it was cutting off the ring, finding sneaky angles inside, or shifting stances mid-exchange to maximize power, he displayed a high boxing IQ that caught many by surprise. His jab, often overlooked because of his brawling style, is sharp, fast, and precise, used not only to measure distance but to disrupt rhythm and blind opponents to the incoming power shots. Ball's fight against the then undefeated Lamati was a career-defining moment. Lamati was taller, rangier, and hailed as a highly technical fighter. On paper, it was the kind of matchup where Ball should have struggled. For the first few rounds, Lamati did find success, tagging Ball with clean counters and looking composed. But Nick isn't the type to be discouraged. He's the kind of fighter who feeds off discomfort. With each round, he began to turn the tide. He found his rhythm. He closed the distance. And when he did, it was like watching a dam break. The fight morphed into something primal. Ball unleashed combinations that bent Lamati's frame against the ropes. Overhand rights, body hooks, uppercuts, each punch was thrown with conviction. Lamati, for all his toughness, couldn't stem the tide. By the later rounds, it became less a competition and more a sustained onslaught. His corner, faced with the undeniable truth, stepped in to save their fighter from further damage. It wasn't just a win for Ball, it was a statement. He had walked into the ring against a respected, undefeated contender and left no doubt about who the superior fighter was. But Nick Ball wasn't satisfied with that. He had bigger goals in mind. With the WBA featherweight title on the line, Ball took on the battle-tested American, Ronnie Rios. Rios, a seasoned pro with a deep resume, wasn't there to be walked over. He came with ambition and experience, but what he didn't expect was the sheer physical punishment Ball brought from the opening bell. Fighting once again in Liverpool, Ball turned the bout into a showcase of his brutal, relentless style. There was no feeling-out process. Ball went to work immediately, launching bombs with both hands. Rios, known for his toughness, absorbed the punishment and fired back, but the volume and velocity of Ball's attack were overwhelming. In the third round, Ball connected with a blistering left hook that dropped Rios hard. The crowd erupted, not just in celebration, but in awe. They knew they were watching something special, something that didn't come around often. Rios somehow rose to his feet, but the tide had fully turned. Every time Ball landed, it was as if a switch was being flicked in Rios's brain. His balance wavered, his guard dropped, and by the final sequence, Ball had broken through completely. A final barrage sent Rios sprawling through the ropes, a definitive end to another dominant performance. With each win, Ball climbed higher, and whispers began to swirl. Could this wrecking ball from Liverpool be the one to take down the sport's most fearsome lower-weight fighter, the Japanese superstar Naoya Inoue? The question began to gain traction when Ball faced his toughest test yet, TJ Doheny. A former world champion and a recent opponent of Inoue himself, Doheny brought pedigree and pride into the ring. For Ball, it was the perfect litmus test. He wasn't just fighting to defend his title. He was fighting to show the world that he belonged in the conversation with the sports elite. The pressure was immense, and Ball welcomed it with open arms. The opening round saw Doheny land clean punches. His experience was evident, and his timing gave Ball a few problems early on. But once again, Ball didn't wilt, he adapted. He made adjustments. He dug deep and found another gear. He started to chip away at Doheny's resolve, forcing him onto the back foot. And then, the beatdown began. What followed was 10 rounds of calculated violence. Ball didn't just win rounds, he won moments. Moments that made the crowd gasp, moments that tested the referee's will to let it continue. Doheny, for all his toughness, was slowly being eroded by the consistent, punishing pressure. A point deduction for Ball in round 9 did nothing to shift the momentum. The punishment was too consistent. By round 10, Doheny's corner saw enough and waved it off. What stood out wasn't just that Ball beat Doheny, it was how he beat him. With more dominance, more control, and more violence than Inoue had managed. It was a performance that forced the boxing world to take notice. This wasn't just a local favorite or a gritty underdog anymore. Nick Ball was a real problem for anyone in or around the featherweight division. Critics who once dismissed him as one-dimensional were now silenced by the sheer depth he displayed. He had timing, reflexes, footwork, and an ability to endure. His chin had been tested and had never cracked. His power was real, and his conditioning was elite. Every round he fought added another layer to the argument that he was more than hype. He was the real deal. Now, with a WBA world title around his waist and the scalps of multiple top contenders on his resume, the path forward for Ball is clear. He wants the biggest challenges. And none are bigger than Naoya Inoue. The Japanese monster has terrorized every division he's touched. From light flyweight to super bantamweight, he has dismantled champions and collected belts like trophies. His combination of speed, power, and technical mastery has left even elite fighters baffled. But if anyone is equipped to take the fight to Inoue, It might just be the 5'2" wrecking machine from Liverpool. It's a clash of styles that has fans salivating. Inoue's surgical precision against Ball's swarming chaos. The Japanese icon who fights like a predator against the British bulldog who refuses to take a step back. If the fight ever gets made, it promises to be one of the most explosive matchups in recent boxing history. 2025 approaches. Nick Ball stands on the precipice of greatness. He's already earned the respect of fans, pundits, and fellow fighters. But now he has his eyes set on something greater: history. Whether or not he becomes the man to stop Inoue, Ball has already proven that he's not just a fighter to watch. He's a force to be feared. His story is one of defiance, hunger, and an unrelenting pursuit of excellence. From the gyms of Merseyside to the brightest lights in world boxing, Nick Ball has fought for every inch of recognition. And if the past is any indicator of what's to come, then the future of the featherweight division might just belong to the Wrecking Ball.